The Knight's Tale, Part 1 to 4. Part 1. Long ago in ancient Greece, a great conqueror and duke named Theseus ruled the city of Athens. One day, 4 women kneel in front of Theseus' horse and weep, halting his passage into the city. The eldest woman informs him that they are grieving the loss of their husbands, who were killed at the siege of the city of Thebes. Creon, the lord of Thebes, has dishonored them by refusing to bury or cremate their bodies. Enraged at the lady's plight, Theseus marches on Thebes, which he easily conquers. After returning the bones of their husbands to the 4 women for the funeral rites, Theseus discovers 2 wounded enemy soldiers lying on the battlefield nearing death. Rather than kill them, he mercifully heals the Theban soldiers' injuries, but condemns them to a life of imprisonment in an Athenian tower. The prisoners named Palamon and Arcite are cousins and sworn brothers. Both live in the prison tower for several years. One spring morning, Palamon awakes early, looks out the window and sees fair-haired Emilie, Theseus' sister-in-law. She is making flower garlands to do honor to May. He falls in love and mourns with heartache. His cry awakens Arcite, who comes to investigate the matter. As Arcite peers out the window, he too falls in love with the beautiful flower-clad maiden. They argue over her, but eventually realize the futility of such a struggle when neither can ever leave the prison. One day, a duke named Perothus, friend both to Theseus and Arcite, petitions for Arcite's freedom. Theseus agrees, on the condition that Arcite be banished permanently from Athens on pain of death. Arcite returns to Thebes, miserable and jealous of Palamon, who can still see Emilie every day from the tower. But Palamon too grows more sorrowful than ever. He believes that Arcite will lay siege to Athens and take Emilie by force. Part 2. Sometime later, winged Mercury, messenger to the gods, appears to Arcite in a dream and urges him to return to Athens. By this time, Arcite has grown gaunt and frail from love sickness. He realizes that he could enter the city disguised and not be recognized. He does so and takes on a job as a page in Emilia's chamber under the pseudonym Philostrate. This puts him close to Emilie but not close enough. Wandering in the woods one spring day, he fashions garlands of leaves and laments the conflict in his heart, his desire to return to Thebes and his need to be near his beloved. As it happens, Palamon has escaped from 7 years of imprisonment that very day and hears Arcite's song and monologue while sneaking through the woods. They confront each other, each claiming the right to Emilie. Arcite challenges his old friend to a duel the next day. They meet in a field and bludgeon each other ruthlessly. Theseus, out on a hunt, finds these 2 warriors brutally hacking away at each other. Palamon reveals their identities and love for Emilie. He implores the duke to justly decide their fate, suggesting that they both deserve to die. Theseus is about to respond by killing them, but the women of his court, especially his queen and Emilie, intervene, pleading for Palamon and Arcite's lives. The duke consents and decides instead to hold a tournament 50 weeks from that day. The 2 men will be pitted against one another, each with 100 of the finest men he can gather. The winner will be awarded Emilie's hand. Part 3. Theseus prepares for the tournament by constructing an enormous stadium. By its gate, he erects 3 temples to the gods, one for Venus, the goddess of love, one for Mars, the god of war, and one for Diana, the goddess of chastity. The knight provides a lengthy description of each temple. The tournament nears, spectators assemble, and both Palamon and Arcite arrive with impressive armies. The Sunday before the tournament, Palamon visits the temple of Venus and supplicates her in the night. He tells her of his desire for Emilie and requests that she bring him victory in the name of love. The statue of Venus makes an enigmatic sign. The reader isn't told what the sign is, which Palamon interprets as a positive answer, and he departs confident. That at dawn, Emilie also rises and goes to the temple of Diana. Desirous to remain a virgin, a maiden all my life, she begs Diana to prevent the impending marriage. But an image of Diana appears and informs her that she must marry one of the Thebans. Obedient, Emilie retires to her chamber. Arcite walks to the temple of Mars and begs the god of war for victory in the battle. He too receives a positive sign. The doors of the temple clang, and he hears the statue of Mars whisper, "Victory!" Like Palamon, Arcite departs the temple in high hopes for the coming day. The scene then shifts to the gods themselves. Saturn, Venus' father, assures her cryptically that despite Mars' aid to Arcite, Palamon will have his lady in the end. Part 4. After much feasting, the spectators assemble in the stadium. The magnificent armies enter, appearing evenly matched. After Theseus has sternly delivered the rules, the bloody battle of flashing swords and maces begins. Though Palamon fights valiantly, Arcite sees his chance and brings Palamon to the stake. He claims him with a sword at his throat. Emilie rejoices as Theseus proclaims Arcite victorious. Venus, on the other hand, weeps with shame that her knight lost, until Saturn calms her and signals that all is not over. At Saturn's request, the earth shakes beneath Arcite as he rides toward Theseus. The knight's horse throws him, crushing his chest. Gravely wounded, the company transports Arcite to bed, where physicians attempt in vain to heal him. Arcite expresses his love to Emilie, and then tells her that if she decides to marry another, she should remember Palamon, who possesses the qualities of a worthy knight. All of Athens mourns Arcite's death. Emilie, Theseus, and Palamon are inconsolable. Theseus' father, Aegeus, takes Theseus aside and tells him that every man just live and die. Life is a journey through woe. Life is a journey through woe that must at some point come to an end. After some years pass, the mourners heal, with the exception of Emilie and Palamon, who continue to go about sorrowfully, dressed in black. During one parliament at Athens, Theseus berates the two for grieving too much. He reminds them that God ordains that all must die, and refusal to accept death is therefore folly. He requests that they cease mourning and that his wife's sister take Palamon for her husband and lord. They obey, and as they realize the wisdom of Theseus' advice over many years, Emilie and Palamon enjoy a long, loving, and happy marriage.